All right, so first of all, I'm the Peel Project Officer at Southern Dirt, and I'm just going to go through some very basic things of how I use Mailchimp currently. So first of all, what does Mailchimp do? It's a marketing tool which allows you to keep all your contacts and information about your contacts in one place, and then create and send out campaigns to them. So emails and social media posts and things like that. The marketing campaigns that we most commonly use are emails and social media posts. You can then target your marketing campaigns to different groups in your audience, depending on what those people might be interested in, and you use tags to do that. This is a really quick fly through of some of the features, but what I've found is that the Mailchimp help articles are very easy to follow and really useful. I'm going to run through just two, how to segment your audience and how to create an email campaign. I'll talk about it first and then show you by sharing my screen. Just so you know, I have created a free account for this session, so you can see the features of the free account, but also for privacy reasons for our Southern Dirt members. So adding contacts is quite straightforward, and they can be added individually or as a group by importing them from Excel. To keep it simple, I would recommend having just one audience and then segmenting that audience into multiple groups and tags. Larger companies, for example, Cotton On, might need to have multiple audiences: Cotton On Kids, Cotton On Accessories, Cotton On Adult range. Whereas for our purposes, it's much easier to have just one audience. Yeah. We use 4 groups to segment our contacts, and it's depending on location. So we have Peel, Greater Southern, Southwest, and Other. We then use a range of tags to segment them further. So for example, in Peel, we have Peel Growers, Peel Industry, Peel Potential Members, and Peel Food Businesses. When people sign up using the form on our website, they can choose the group that they are in, and then we can tag them as either growers or industry or food business. Once you have your contacts entered into Mailchimp, then you can start a campaign. We use emails and add social media to our emails when it's necessary. I mainly use Mailchimp for our Peel e-news updates, which go out fortnightly and have a similar setup each time. Once you create your first email, it will be saved as a template for next time, which helps with having consistent branding and managing time. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you all the features that you can use on Mailchimp. So this is the homepage, and here you have create, and this is where all of your campaigns you can create. So emails and social posts are the ones that we use most commonly. In audience dashboard, you can see all of your contacts here. So this is my test account, and I've put in just 12 contacts, and you can see all of those contacts here and what their tags are. So this John Smith is tagged in the Peel free membership group, and the tags are producer and they live in Waroona. You add contacts by going to this button here, and you can add them individually by adding a subscriber or importing contacts. And that's where you can copy and paste from Excel. I'll now go to my campaign homepage, and I've created just a test campaign that I'll run you through and how to edit the email campaign. And I've also done another test that I've sent out, and I'll show you the report on that one. Now, when you create a new campaign, you get to this screen and you can edit the recipients, you can edit who the email comes from, the subject, and then the design. In Edit Recipients, you choose your audience. So Southern Dirt would have just one audience, and then you can send it to a particular tag. So for this one, I've chosen Peel. The from is just who your email is from, very easy. And then your subject not only has a subject, but a little byline as well. So the subject, Peel e-news update, and then the preview text has a little bit about what is in the email. Edit design is where we'll put the email together. Okay, on the left side is a preview of what the email will look like, and on the right side is where you input your content by using these editing tools. I'll show you the ones I commonly use to create our e-news. Each section is called a block, and you drag your editing tool from this side over to where you want that block to go. First of all, I'll show you the images. So there's 3 different types of images you can use. Four. A plain image, an image group, an image card, which is one image with some text, and image and text. So it's the text is below. I generally just use the simple image editing tool. And then once you drop it in, you can browse for your image, and this is where all of your files will be stored. If your file isn't stored on Mailchimp already, you can upload a file from your folders. And once it is in here, you can then select that image and insert. From there, you can edit the style and the settings, or you can edit it further using this link here. This is where you can crop and resize and add in extra features if you like. On each block, there's 4 buttons. This one here moves that block around your email. This one is for editing, so it will open this screen. This one here replicates that block, which is useful for branding. And then the 4th one is to delete that block. Now next is the text boxes. We've got 2 different types of text boxes. One is shaded, so that's the box text, and the other is plain, the first one here. And they're very simple. You just drag them over, and then you write your content in the right-hand side. It'll come out how it will look on the left-hand side. If we move down further, I've embedded some images. I've used 2 different text boxes here just for a title and content. And then this button, this is a link. This link can be linked to a web address, an email address, an anchor link, or a file. Anchor links are links within a document. Unfortunately, there is a glitch with the Mailchimp anchor links. If you insert them into your email and someone opens it on their mobile phone, anchor links won't actually work. They'll only work on the PC platform. The other ones, we haven't found any problems with though. You pop in the text that your button wants to have on it here. If it's a web address, you select web address and then copy and paste your web address there. In the style, you can select the color. You can have rounded corners if you want borders and things. And then settings, you can align it in different alignments. The next one I want to show you is video. There's 2 different types of editing tools that you can use to insert a video. I generally use the easier one, which is this one. You can browse for your video or drop it in from a file already on your computer. And the second one is a coding feature. Now, I'm not quite savvy with coding, so I haven't really given that one a go other than just copying and pasting the code from the YouTube site. When you insert a video though, it comes up with text that you can add, and that's down here. And the last thing I want to just show you with images is you can also insert images within a text box. You use this button here, and the automatic default is for the image to be not aligned within the text, and to align it within the text to make it look a little bit better, you actually have to go into the picture itself by double tapping and then show image style options. You move down here and you can align it left, center, or right, and then save. And you can see I've just swapped it over to the right hand side, but it is within the text. This picture is just created on Canva and is an insert image picture. And then our social media buttons is a very simple social follow editing tool where you can put your web address for your Facebook, Twitter. It has a whole range of different social media platforms that you can add in. You can add the font, the text down the bottom, change the font, the style. There's lots of options with that. And then this footer is here, and I just use the generic footer that Mailchimp provides. Once you've created your email, you click continue. And the most important thing that I can offer you as advice is to send a test email to yourself, at least to yourself, if not other people that might be involved in the campaign. This is where you'll find mistakes that you hadn't seen when creating your email. You can test all of your links and make sure your pictures have been formatted correctly. If you send it to someone else to have a look at, they can reply directly to that email. However, their reply will go to the comments tab where you edit your campaign. And I'll just show you that quickly. And it's just up here, comments. And those replies will be added there. Multiple people can format the same email at the same time, and so all the comments can be seen by everyone editing. Once you're happy with it all, you can send your email, or there's a button here that you can schedule your email. Unfortunately, only free accounts made in 2019 or beforehand, the schedule button is free. But now for current accounts created in 2020, it's now a paid feature. It's a really handy one to have because you can schedule it at the times where people will be opening their emails, when you know you might be opening your emails as well. You can also add a social post to your campaign down here. So some of the other features we use are automatic welcome messages where people sign up to our mailing list, and our website is set up and integrated with Mailchimp. So when someone signs up on our website, it automatically adds that person to our audience with the appropriate group and tags. Some of the great features that we have found really useful are obviously the tagging feature. It directs the information to the correct people. The reporting is very useful as well. You can see who has opened the email, how many times they opened it, and what links have been clicked. You can't see who has clicked the links though. The replicate the campaign feature is really useful when you're trying to have consistent branding. So you can have an email that has all of your logos and colors and divider lines and all of those kind of things, and you just edit the content for the next email that you're going to send out. Another great feature is importing contacts all at once using Excel spreadsheets, and multiple users can edit the document at the same time. It's a very user-friendly platform, and as I said, the Mailchimp help articles are fantastic and have helped me a lot. Some features that we found difficult, the survey feature, we tried to embed a survey into our e-news. However, after each question answered, it takes the reader to another landing page, which we found a little bit clunky. We use SurveyMonkey and link the survey into the email instead. And you can only send out an email to one tagged group. So for example, I like to send an email just to our Peel members and Peel industry, but I have to send it out to email campaigns, the same content. Formatting can also be a bit fiddly, and that's why I say make sure you do a test email to find out what formatting errors are in there, and make sure you test your links to make sure they're working and current. So that's all from me. I hope this has been really useful. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to help.
Hi everyone, I'm Callista and I'm going to take you through social media content planning. So let's get into it. So first of all, to me, social media is a very compelling, highly impactful public relations tool that I've come to really enjoy and appreciate. So let's see if I can't inspire you along those lines as well. Firstly, looking at some metrics. As of January this year, the Australian population was around 24.5 million people, and 81% of us are internet users. There are 18 million social media users in Australia. That's a whopping 73% of the population is using social media. 5 hours, 41 minutes a day is spent on the internet, and of this time, 30% is spent on social media, around 1 hour, 44 minutes a day per person. And one last fun fact is that 30% more time is spent on social media than on people checking their emails. So the point of all of that is that social media is a mega opportunity for us. We've got a very engaged audience, and it's certainly a strategy that is worthy of your commitment. Looking at the 5 main channels in Australia, of the 18 million Australian social media users, Facebook has around 15 million accounts, and then you've got the others here: YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, the 5 top ones. This chart shows you the number of hours that people are using these a month, and then the male and female split. So when it comes to choosing an account or a channel for yourself, just pick 1 or 2, only the number that you can manage, and do them well. Not keeping your social media account up to date and active can actually be more damaging to your brand or group than not having an account at all. So let me throw up this slide and talk about this. Life without a content plan, to me, is like the experience of standing in front of your fridge at the end of the day when you are exhausted, you're at your most creative low, you're missing ingredients, and you say, what are we going to make for dinner? So we all know that feeling, and it's just exhausting. So the no plan experience will definitely turn your social media experience into a very unpleasant, unsustainable, and undernourishing experience for both you and your stakeholders. It's a missed opportunity versus a situation of having a very intentional content plan. This will elevate your social media experience into a positive, impactful opportunity where you're informing and influencing people, you're accelerating social change and industry change with your messaging, you're energizing your stakeholders, and you're causing a ripple effect with thinking, you're inspiring engagement and collaboration, you're attracting beneficial new stakeholders and potential partnerships. So the upside is just so compelling when social media is done mindfully. Let's have a look at a couple of examples of a content plan. Now, I call our content plans a skeleton plan because that's basically what they are. It's a skeleton of the minimum amount of content that we want to pre-think ahead and load up into our system and push out into our network. So this particular plan is based on having 2 writers and 12 themes, and it's actually the GGA's current plan that I developed at the start when I joined up. So it's based on having 2 writers, myself and Kaylin, and we look at 12 themes. So it runs on a monthly cycle. So we've got the 4 weeks down the side and then Monday to Friday across the top. And our plan is to just post 3 times a week at a minimum. These gaps on the days that we don't have a post scheduled will be filled with other opportune, relevant information on the day. So it might be a retweet that we come across, or a photo opportunity with one of our team members out in the field, or that captures our attention. But the skeleton plan is the minimum that we plan to run. So looking at week 1, for example, on a Monday, one of our chosen themes is that we will always have an advocacy post around the value of grower groups. On a Wednesday, we will post the TED talk that we included in our Newswire newsletter that month, and that's showcases progressive thinking and learning in a way that we feel is helpful to the industry, our industry, to drive change. And then on a Friday of week 1, we'll have an engagement post. So what that means is a reminder about any workshops that might be coming up, about the annual forum, about any other opportunities like the Growing Leaders Scholarship that we've had running. That's sort of a model for week 1. Week 2 will have different themes, in week 3 and week 4. So I think you get the idea with that. Up here, I've got a reference to this rule of 7-11. So what the rule of 7 is it's a marketing concept, and it pretty much states that people need to see something a minimum of 7 times for them to actually take action on it. And I've actually modified it to being the rule of 7-11, because in my personal experience over my career, I feel that it takes an average of 11 times. So a minimum of 7 times, but usually an average of 11 times for people to see something to actually take action. So you'll see on a Friday, every Friday, we've got an engagement post. So for example, in the 8 weeks that we've had the Growing Leaders Scholarship open, every single Friday, we've posted on it. And that mixture of the 7-11 rule might spread across a number of modalities. So you might be emailing people, you'll have it on your social media, they'll see something on your website, you might text them. So just embrace that rule and that concept. You're not being repetitive. It feels that way to you, but actually what you're doing is you're doing your job and serving your stakeholders by providing them with enough repetition of that particular opportunity so that it doesn't pass them by. So moving on to a more complex plan. This one is based on 8 writers and 20 themes. And this is a weekly plan for a bigger organization. So this particular plan I developed, you can see there's 8 different writers involved down here, and it covers 11 products. And then down the bottom, there's some extra topics, which is where we get the 20 themes. So for example, on a Monday, we'd have a particular person from a farm supplies team doing a post for that division. So it might be on fertilizer, it might be on fencing products, it might be on rainwater tanks, whatever it is of their choice. We've just recruited an expert person from that particular team to take responsibility for writing that particular post. And on Monday as well, we'd have an agronomist putting out a post on something that's topical. It might be a pest, it might be something seasonal related, it might be soil testing, just something relevant to that person's area of expertise. So you can see, working through this, all of a sudden you've got a very dynamic content, very interesting and engaging content plan, and you've actually brought a number of people into the mix. So there's a lot of advantages with doing that, and I'll go into them now. So my key insights with developing a content team where there's more than one of you are these. I've got 7 key insights. You should really try to have a minimum of 2 people. That way you can actually cover each other when somebody's sick or on annual leave. Your social media channel doesn't fall over. The more people that you've got involved, the more sustainable your plan will be. So, and alongside of that, the more people that you're getting involved, the more you're building individual team members' skills around social media and posting, and you're also collectively building your teamwork. So you're actually serving your organisation in a number of ways, as well as meeting your social media or marketing public relations strategy. The third insight around content teams is to try and build a psychologically safe place for people to experiment with posting, develop ideas, brainstorm, and generally look after each other. So just say you have another team member put out a post and there's a typo or a spelling mistake in there, get in there and correct it for them, cover each other's backs, and make it a really supportive place to be. Don't highlight people's mistakes or areas, just get in there and get on with the job of looking after each other and maintaining your social media together. The fourth insight would be to be really patient and expect missing pieces. So with the normal ebb and flow of a workload, not everyone will be able to post every single week, and you can expect that. You know, don't beat people up for it. It's just a natural thing that happens. Just scoop it up and carry on, and encourage people to keep going, not get down because they're not you know, kicking goals every single week. With these structured content plans, you're actually baking a huge margin for slippage on your plan. So even if you were to only deliver 30% of the content that you plan to, in say Kaylin and my example, that would be, we aim to post 3 times a week, but even if we just posted once a week, that still has some value. We're still getting on with our social media. The lights are on. We're projecting energy for the company. So, you know, even if you were only achieve 30%, it still has an immense value. So be patient with your team and just keep going. The 5th insight would be to encourage everyone to schedule in advance. So use your Facebook scheduling tool. We personally use Hootsuite at GGA, which is a platform where we can pre-write and load all of the posts for all of our channels, and it'll spit them out simultaneously onto Twitter and LinkedIn in the one go. But pretty much load them up and then circle back to them in a couple of days and look at your posts with fresh eyes. Creativity needs breathing space, so bake that into your plan and the way you execute. The 6th insight that I've found would be to evolve and adjust your plan at least annually. So be flexible with changing it and adapting as you go. And also, once you have some traction, set some goals collectively as a team. So it might be to increase your following to 200 followers or 500 followers or 5,000 followers, whatever it is that you feel is achievable, and you'll get more buy-in from your team and engagement. And it's just way more fun when you're working on something together and kicking goals together. And then finally, this is an absolute essential. You must have one person accepting overall ownership for the social media plan and cultivating and driving the results. If you don't have that one person, it'll fall apart. And if they leave, tag someone else in. So having a look at brainstorming some content for yourself, just 5 key ideas to get started if you don't already have a plan. Look at generating insightful and informative, relevant metrics posts. So an example of that would be in that bigger plan that I showed you, we would have on a Monday a weekly wool report, which was just the highs of each capital city price for wool. And on a Wednesday, there'd be a report on the market prices for the livestock sales that went on around the state. So some key metrics that are relevant to your particular sector. A second idea would be to showcase your organisation's work. So what's going on that, you know, highlights the good work that you're doing? Is it a field trip? Is it a networking function? Is it a survey that you're putting out? Just showcase what you're doing, what's keeping you busy. The third idea would be to give people a sneak peek behind the scenes of inside your organisation. These posts are always hugely popular. So a good example would be a post GGA put up when our team got together for the first time after lockdown, and we got to meet each other face to face. We just had a photo in the boardroom at the Department of Primary Industries, and you know, it just gave people, you know, a sense of who we are as people, a little bit behind the scenes. And yeah, it was a hugely popular post, so people love that. It's very engaging. Fourth idea would be to do posts that advocate for your stakeholders. So for example, something like a member of the month, showcase the value that they're bringing to your industry, the activities that they're doing, some of the work that they're doing. So it's always a great talking point in your network when other people are getting to meet other people via your social media page, and you know, when they finally meet each other out there in person, it's always a great icebreaker to have you know, had that post in your mix before. And then finally, I would encourage you to try and make posts that shape your industry and encourage progressive thinking. So by that I mean, you know, what have you identified as an organisation are the shifts that need to happen for your organisation or your sector to achieve its goals? And be a little bit brave about putting posts out there that encourage progressive thinking and have a ripple effect on the people around you. So these are always really engaging. You'll develop your own brand and style around that type of post, and your followers will really look forward to that kind of content. Then finally, looking at some best practice tips, 5 quick tips. Aim for 150 characters or less with your post. You've really only got 7 seconds to capture attention. Always use clips or photos in your posts. They're far more engaging. Include links back to websites, so it might be your website or someone else's website where they can unpack more data about the sort of posts that you've made. And then 4th best practice tip, which is a really important one, is post with integrity. Do your bit to keep social media a valued space for all of us. And then finally, tailor your content specific to your audience and appropriate to the scale of your audience. So for example, GGA has over 3,000 followers. We've got Farmer Joe down at Coaching Up. We've got grower groups. We've got fellow state organisations, industry organisations. We've got politicians, state bodies, federal bodies. So we've got quite a diverse audience. So we just need to moderate what we put out there according, that's appropriate for that very broad mix of stakeholders. If you've got a smaller, more intimate group with, just say 100 or 200 followers, that gives you the opportunity to be a little bit more intimate with more grassroots kind of posts within that circle that would be appropriate. So that's pretty much it. I hope you got something out of that.
Hi everyone, I'm Kaylin. I work for the Grower Group Alliance in a communications and administrative support role. Today I will be delivering a session on email etiquette in my capacity in communications, working closely with Callista Bolton, who you would have engaged with as our stakeholder communications officer. So yeah, let's get into it. Many of us receive more emails than we're prepared or equipped to respond to. Just having a look at these stats, we can see that 281 billion emails were sent daily in 2018, and that's expected to increase exponentially to 347 billion by 2023. This data, however, was found pre-COVID, so who knows what it's going to look like in the digitization age that we are sort of now immersed in. So hopefully this session will give you some tips on how to avoid spamming people, how to maintain your etiquette when dealing with emails that come at you at a rate of knots as well. And yeah, I hope you get something out of it. Here are the 10 golden rules that we formulated to keeping up a standard of email etiquette across your organisation. So I'll give you guys a minute to look at these and then we'll delve into it. So number 1 is the intentional subject line. The more to the point your subject line is, the more likely you are to capture what your email is about. And this should be your key information. Like any piece of communications collateral distributed to your network, it should follow the inverted pyramid structure. So people expect to find the most relevant information right at the top. If you can capture a direct call to action, your recipient is likely to respond more quickly. And this point about reframing the subject and making it relevant to your recipient, I'll give you an example to kind of elaborate on this. So at GGA, if my colleagues receive something that is from the network, so from you guys, and it's relevant for Newswire, they'll forward it to me as for Newswire before the original subject material. It's my role to collate the Newswire. So with this subject line framed in a way that's relevant to my role in the organisation, it generates sort of a call to action for me really quickly. And so I just like to throw it out there and put the question, can you guys think of anywhere where you could do this for your colleagues and generate a more timely response and accurate and relevant response to what you're requesting of your colleagues or stakeholders. Number 2, the professional address. This one's a little bit of a no-brainer, but sending from a business email helps you to separate your work and your personal communications. And it's also a subtle and free marketing technique. So it would almost be silly not to. And by having a professional business address, there's the added bonus of avoiding basically being diverted to spam or junk mail. So your message is more likely to be received on the other end. Number 3, you've got your greetings, your sign off, and your general tone. I've decided to kind of put this all together because your greetings and your sign off set your general tone. And this I feel is one of the most important, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time here. The beginning of an email can be pretty tricky, especially when there's no pre-existing relationship. A good rule of thumb though, if there is no existing rapport, is to begin with a hello or a hey. Sorry, a hello instead of a hey. So some examples of sign off and sign on that you can adopt are just in the next slide. I'll let you have a read over those. I'll give you some time. I'm just going to go through the general tone first. So if the email is an in-house email communication to a colleague, it's okay to have a shorthand and instructive message that can be useful. But if the communication is going to your external stakeholders, it's best to reframe the message and write it out in full to avoid coming across really abrupt. If the request or instructions are too convoluted, just address that in the email and ask your recipient when is a good time and when is a time that's at your recipient's convenience to follow up with a phone call. It's a really great way of building on a relationship. But rather than just dropping them a line when they may be busy, sending sort of a preliminary email detailing what you may want to talk to them about can give them a little bit of time to prepare as well. Humor and when to use it. My best advice here is probably just avoid it. In cross-cultural teams, and that doesn't just mean ethnicity, that means the diversity of your organization or your network or your stakeholders, is that humor can be misconstrued, and at the best case scenario, it can leave people feeling confused or left out. So just consider your relevance and the context, and by all means, use humor if you have a really strong rapport with someone, but I would avoid using it if it's an acquaintance or even someone who's fairly high up in your organization. Humor's really good for the coffee room or grabbing a bite to eat or something, but just generally avoid it when it's written. It's difficult to convey tone. And that brings me to emojis. I also tend to steer clear of these, just on the fact that they're not all that professional. A good rule with this is that basically if your message doesn't convey the tone without you adding a smiley, then it's a good opportunity to reframe and come up with some better choices of words. And the headline test. This goes to where your email could end up. This is a great hypothetical to consider, is if you'd be happy for your words that are written in an email to a colleague or a network participant or your stakeholders to be splashed across the front cover of your local newspaper. Before pressing send, it's just best to think where your email could end up. That's just a golden rule that we all must follow. And so here's your safe sign on and sign off. I'll give you a minute to read through those. Then you've got your reply all. This one can be a little bit confusing, so I'll try and explain it in the best way I can. But basically, remember the statistics from the start and how much a person's inbox can be flooded if that's what's happening sort of on a global scale. Then individually, sometimes we're sifting through hundreds of emails. We want to avoid spamming the people that we're in constant email communication with, and to consider your audience before pressing the big purple arrow is always a really great way to kind of think about where your email is going. To control where a thread goes beyond you, the BCC function is really helpful, because it means that in a reply all scenario, the people that are BCC'd won't be included in the thread. So if there's people that you need to keep in the thread, pop them in the CC, and anyone that doesn't need any further kind of any further follow-up in this particular email thread, just pop them in the BCC. They've had their last little bit of communication with regard to that thread. And just be sure to check with people as well before you put them in your BCC, is just check with them that that's okay, because you don't want to bump people off the thread and make them kind of feel left out or kicked out. Proofreading. I just cannot express this enough, really. Emphasis on this is huge. Spelling and grammar counts in the virtual world. It may feel foolish, but reading aloud, including the subject line, helps your ears pick up what your eyes skim over. And the best practice is to get a colleague to also scan your wording. Callista and I do it all the time. And it's a really good opportunity for someone who's in the office who's been really close to an email that they're sending out, a really important memo to the network, to just kind of get up, walk around the office, stretch their legs while their colleague reads over their email, because obviously keeping the social distancing and all of that. So yeah, it's just best practice if you have the opportunity to get someone to read over your work. Short and sweet, and just like this rule, I'm going to keep this tip very concise and to the point. Short emails save you time, and they promote a timely response on the other end. So really there's no point to send a novel to people's inboxes. If something needs to be that detailed, it's best to just send a preliminary email and follow up with a phone call or a meeting. Acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is huge. And so while we were speaking on timeliness, the best thing to do on the receiving end of an email is to reply in a timely fashion. We kind of came up with 1 to 2 business days being ample time to send something, even if it's just, hi, I've seen this, I'll get back to this when I have a moment. It's just that acknowledgement, it's just common courtesy. Even if what you're being requested of requires physical action on your end, just communicate that to someone. People are more understanding when the communication is transparent and quick and honest, and they, just avoid putting people in the too hard basket. We've all been there and it's no fun. This one's also probably one of the bigger golden rules, is considering the context. Would you be happy to open an email seemingly shouting at you? Imagine if you're coming into work, it's first thing Monday morning, and you open your inbox and there's an email just littered with capitals. You're not really sure if someone's exclaiming excitement or if there's urgency. There are other ways to communicate, and email, it's just best to keep a neutral tone. So if you wouldn't like being shouted at, don't shout at other people. But having said that, there are situations where caps is okay, usually for acronyms. So here's a list and you can have a look through that. Number 9, attach carefully. Always seek permission when you're attaching large folders. There's obviously a plethora of cloud-based links that we can utilize. Just obviously ensure that it's in line with your organization's parameters and guidelines, especially for us, given that we're working sort of in the government sector. We just have to be careful with what storage and what links we use. So it's just something to consider. And one of the biggest faux pas is forgetting to attach the mentioned attachment to the email. So always double check before sending. It just avoids that level of non-professionalism. And the final rule, which is another one on professionalism, is just double checking who you're sending something to. There's nothing more unprofessional than sending an email to the wrong person. Those are the golden rules. Human error is unavoidable, but hopefully these 10 easy to remember tips will help. And sort of my key advice encapsulating all of this is to always consider your context, your relevance, and where your email could end up.